Now, topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Welcome to the National Safe Child Show, addressing the health, safety, and welfare of all children nationwide, because it shouldn't hurt to be a child. Here is your host, Tammy Stefano.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the National Safe Child Show. We have an awesome show. We have an awesome guest here today. Was that on? Welcome to the National Safe Child Show. Okay. I want to cut through the chase. We only have a little bit of time. I want to introduce an awesome woman who is fighting the good fight. I'm going to allow you, actually. Melinda Murphy, welcome. Welcome to the National Safe Child Show. And thank you for being on. Yeah, the audience loves you already.
No, I love your show. I love your show. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, we're so grateful to have you, actually, and we're grateful for the work that you do, and we're grateful that you have a conscience to step up and be a voice for the children, because at the end of the day, I mean, aren't we all supposed to be, those of us who are involved in this work, we're supposed to be advocating in some way for the safety, health, and welfare of the children. And we're going to get into that. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so educationally, I do have a master's degree in counseling and educational psychology.
Excellent.
I've been working in child welfare over 20 years.
Wow.
I got my start, I have to let your audience know this, I got my start at Children of the Night. It's an excellent organization.
Fabulous. I'm familiar with that.
Yep, Dr. Lois Lee trained me, and it's an organization that helps get children involved in prostitution and pornography off the streets.
Yes.
And as I was saying, Dr. Lois Lee trained me, and I remember her instilling me a sense of ethics to do the right thing, not necessarily do things in the right way, but to do things do the right thing.
Well, not necessarily do things in the right way. You mean the right way according to the system, perhaps.
Yes.
But do things the right way according to the moral standards that we're all
So I thank her for that. I'm in touch with her to this day. And I also worked for DCFS, Department of Children and Family Services, LA County, for just shy of 10 years in various capacities: a social worker, a supervisor, a dependency investigator, a court officer.
Wow.
Yep.
So you've covered it all.
Yeah, and I like to always say I was one of the good social workers.
I'm sure you were.
And the administration respected me. I was what's called a cleaner. So every time a case was completely screwed up or the court was not happy with the social worker's work, they'd call me in. The administrator would call me in to clean up the case, make sure all the court orders were followed. So I was a really good social worker. And when I left DCFS, I left on with positive accommodations.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. When you left, Melinda was telling me, I'm trying to get on right now. When you left, what was the reason that you actually did leave? I mean, you had tenure in there, and it would have been great to stay on. Why did you leave? Did you get a better position, or what was the purpose of you leaving?
No, why I left Children's Services is because I had a conscience. And I wanted to be able to sleep at night. I wanted to be able to look myself in the mirror. When I went to work for them, I thought I'd be working for the children, working for the families, building on their strengths. And I discovered, no, what I'm doing is I'm working for the Department of Children and Family Services. I'm a PR agent. And I'm not protecting the children and the families. I'm protecting Department of Children and Family Services. And I couldn't live with that. And so
you raise a good point. So would it be fair to say, based on what you just said, that you viewed them as two different entities?
Yes.
You thought that you were working for the children, but in fact you were working for the Department of Children and Families. But aren't they supposed to be working for the children? But you've separated
they're
that.
Supposed to. No, they're not. Children's Services, Department of Children and Family Services is a political organization. And you can't be a political organization and do social work. They don't
the two
coincide.
Don't mesh.
No, they don't mesh at all.
Okay. So in your opinion, would it be fair to say that you don't think that the department really is looking out for the best interests of the children?
No, not at all.
Not at all?
No, that's just a mantra. That's just something you hear in the children, the best interest of the children. but that's not what's practiced.
It's not the best
No.
interest. What is their purpose, according to your opinion? I mean, if you had to summarize it in, a paragraph, a couple of sentences, and I said, Melinda, describe what you think that they are, the Department of Children and Family Services out of Los Angeles, folks.
I see them as a very fearful organization. There's as we mentioned in our book, it's called A Culture of Fear, an Inside Look into Los Angeles County Department of Children and Family Services. The department is, its main reason for making decisions is liability, fear. They don't want to be, no one wants to be on the front page of the LA Times saying that a child died because of, a social worker did something they shouldn't have or returned a child home. So, there's a lot of liability. Also, there's a component where money is involved.
And that I do want to get into.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get on here still. Okay, go ahead.
With the money aspect, what we've been noticing is that community agencies that are geared towards preserving families are being defunded at an alarming rate. And the government is giving billions of dollars towards adoption and out-of-home care. So that's when a children's not at home, they're in a foster home or a group home. And these group homes get, on average, $8,000 per child per month.
$8,000. Is this in L.A. County?
LA County.
L.A. County is
Yes.
giving $8,000 per child per month
Sure.
if they reside in a group home.
Yeah, on average, yes. And
On
it goes
average.
more, depending on the
Maybe
needs of the child.
behavioral
Sure.
problems, if they're diagnosed. Who diagnoses these children to make it go more?
But they have a level system. They work at, I'm not the person to ask, but it's called
Okay.
RCL levels. And I know that when I was a social worker, if, depending on the behavior of the children, we'd say the child's acting out. And
Who's we?
the social worker and the supervisor. I'd call the a group home, say we need placement for a child. These are, his symptoms. He's refusing to go to school. He's really angry. But then you have to keep back your mind, of course he's angry. He was, taken away from his parents and everything
That's
he
right.
holds near and dear, so it's very commonplace these children are angry, but our system tends to not see it that way. We just think there's something wrong with the child. So we say the child's a big problem. And
Something that I've seen over and over again is that social workers, now in your case you do have a degree,
yes.
and so you can be able to, at least at some level.
But I'm glad you're mentioning this
Yes.
because, in order to work for Children's Services, you need a
Oh, wait a
bachelor's
minute,
degree. Okay. Bachelor's degree only. But I came in with a master's, and it means I just made more money. I came in making a higher amount of money. It's the same work, same number of cases. It's just that I made more money.
Would
But-
it surprise you that there are social workers that are working for the department right now that only have a high school diploma?
Yeah, there shouldn't be. I know they have, and this is a problem, they have social worker, well, they're not social workers, they're called human service aides, HSAs. They have a high school diploma, and they're the ones that DCFS has entrusted to monitor the visits and to report to the social worker in the court how the quality of the visits are between the child and the parent, and they're not qualified and they're not trained whatsoever. So they do have a high school diploma, but to my knowledge, I do believe social workers need a bachelor's degree.
So that's, to your knowledge, that's a requirement.
Yes.
In order to be a social worker in Los Angeles DCF, you have to have a bachelor's.
Yes.
Okay, so that's something we need to look into, folks, because I have some different information.
And I'll tell you what, when I first, I can't believe I say this. Okay, so I went to work for Children's Services. I had my, I submitted my application. I had my interview, and it was a written test, and then I had an oral interview with 3 supervisors. And the supervisors part, one of the questions they had asked me was, what do you feel about, the parents? And I said, what I thought. I thought, children belong with the families, and if we can, we have to get the families healthier, and so we can return the family, children to the families. And I remember the supervisors just looked at me like, oh my gosh. And I don't even know if they passed me. I don't even know if, what happened.
Right.
And then I remember I said this, I told my story to someone who works for Department of Children and Family Services, and she said, you said what? No, you can't say that. You have to say the parents are rotten, horrible people, and we need to stress adoption. So the next year I applied for same thing, same person. I applied to be a social worker, and I had another interview, different set of people, supervisors, and this time when they asked me, what do you think about the parents, I said, you know what, if they can't get their act together, we need to adopt their children out. Bam, I was hired on the spot. I mean, just band one. Yeah, I was at the top
You
of the
knew
list.
what you had
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah.
You just pushed all your hair up.
Oh, sorry.
Nope, that's okay. There you go. I want to, folks, we have another guest who's come on. I don't know if the two of you have met each other. So this is a lovely woman who is, she's a social work investigator. And Melinda's been on the show in the past. And she's a lovely, honest woman, worked for DCFS for 10 years and had to quit because, according to Melinda, she had a conscience and she couldn't continue to do the work that she was doing and before. So, folks, I'd like, is her mic on? Okay. Folks, I'd like to welcome to the show Dr. Susan Evans. And for those of you who are not familiar, please go on the YouTube channel of National Safe Child Show or ubnradio.com archives under the National Safe Child Show and archive 2 weeks ago, and you can hear Dr. Susan Evans' story. For the sake of time, I'm just going to direct the folks to do that. Dr. Susan is joining us today because, yay.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. We have a group now that has has taken a look at this case of Dr. Susan's. She has 4 children, and it's pretty severe, and it only seems to be that the more we look, the more we're discovering. So we're going to continue, and Dr. Susan, as Melinda is talking, I invite you to ask her some questions. This is the girl thing. This is what we do for each other. I'm going to invite you to ask her. She's a wealth of information. She's been working with children. She has a master's degree for over 20 years.
Wow.
And she has been around the block. She knows the system. She is the author, folks. And so she is the author of A Culture of Fear. She co-authored, I should say, with Julian Dominguez, who's also been on the show, who retired shortly after Gabriel Fernandez's life was taken as a result of these gross failures of the Palmdale Department of Children and Family Services. So, and Melinda, you worked in Palmdale.
That's the office I worked at. I worked at the Palmdale office, Lancaster.
Feel free to move it. It kind of moves it. You can even dance with it if you want.
And I have to say that the supervisors in the case were very good supervisors. I wasn't involved in that case, so I don't know what happened. But I do know that the union, one of the big problems with Children's Services, that the union protects the bad social workers. And that's a huge problem. And very, very bad social workers burn out. Social workers with issues, there's biased social workers are allowed to keep a caseload and, harm families.
Well, what you just said, in order for you to get the job, you had to say, I'll go in there like a bull for you.
Yes.
And I'll do whatever you want.
And I got the message loud and clear, when I started working there, that my job was to keep the kids from going home. I didn't
Not the other way.
No.
That was that actually said to you that this is your job to do that?
Yes.
She was just talking about right before you came.
That's in our book.
Wow.
It's a concept called the DCFS Speaks with One Voice. So, for example, if I was a social worker and I thought that I wanted to recommend that a child go home to the parents.
Yes.
However, my supervisor or my supervisor's supervisor didn't want that to happen. And usually it's because they were fearful, just in case something happens to the child, we're just going to, recommend that the child not go home. They told me to de-emphasize the positives that the parents might have done, add negative things, stress the negative.
Unbelievable.
The thing that really got to me, and another reason why I left Children's Services, because, of course I'm going to be asked to testify.
Sure.
And you often did testify. She was
did.
often used.
And I was told, I can't lie. I can't, I have to say what I believe, that this child should go home. And I was told, no, DCFS speaks with one voice. I'd have my superiors say this. They wouldn't say it meanly. They just say that's the way it is. I'd have county council tell me DCFS speaks with one voice. We need to listen to whoever's the highest in the office who thinks, who's making that recommendation, and you have to testify as to that.
Even though your position was not necessarily a social worker yourself, but you were to critique.
She was a supervisor.
Yeah.
She was a social worker
and
supervisor.
to monitor the other supervisors and make sure they're doing the right thing. You were told that you were to agree with them, have one voice.
You have to agree with whoever's the highest ranking official in the office as to what they want, and they don't. They don't meet the families. They don't work the cases. They don't know the criteria, the specifics or the nuances. They just are fearful, I think. They just don't want that liability.
When you say they are fearful, you're talking about the social workers at the field level or the supervisors?
The supervisors and the supervisors. Yeah, the
fearful
head of the
of
office.
what?
Being like, ooh, just in case something happens, and
they would be
in the LA Times, and so the common thing they say is, just let the court order it. We're not going to recommend it, that the children go home, but let the court order it.
So we've been through this turmoil. We've mentioned it many times. So the social worker goes out, they make a report. Some of them come back with good reports. Some of them come back with, there's a little bit, but it doesn't seem like there's really a safety risk. But then the DI work, interrupt me. I saw you.
Well, it's interesting because if there's an article in the LA Times about a child death, it seems like every child's being taken away. There's an increase in the number of detentions.
Is there? Well, you said it seems that there's an increase, but is there in fact an increase?
Yeah, there's an increase, a dramatic increase.
A dramatic increase.
And how does it relate to something showing up in the LA Times or on the paper about?
So the child death in Palmdale. Following that, the courts were seeing just a significant amount of detentions where children are being taken out of their home.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, better safe than sorry.
Okay.
And here's the thing that's really scary is that the petitions, they draft a petition, which shows the allegations in the case. And I don't know if you know this, but when I was a dependency investigator, so I was, that's just another name for a social worker who looks over the allegations.
A DI.
DI. I was told that the people who crafted the petitions, they work in Monterey Park at IDC, they just throw everything in there, because they want something to stick. So there's just made up stuff or things that are exaggerated. Just
anything goes in there.
Because the whole thing is they want it to plea bargain. They want something to stick because it doesn't take much to get something to stick in our court. There's a low preponderance of evidence. So
I see. And when you say plea bargaining, who are they doing that with?
Well, yeah, because they know that the parents, they'll just plea bargain and say, "Hey, I didn't, do this, and that, but I did this."
I see.
They just want involvement with DCFS. They want the children, to stay out of the home, and they want involvement with children's services.
So Melinda was explaining before you came on that there's such a financial incentive to keep the children in the system. So, you're talking about billions and billions of dollars just within Los Angeles.
That's billions across
the nation.
Sorry,
okay,
yes.
So nationally there's billions of dollars. However, just within LA County, the incentive on an average basis is $8,000 per child per month.
On average, yeah.
On average, and that's average. So if the child has behavioral issues, that price increases. So, folks, when we think about all of the children that are taken away for whatever purpose, we are talking about potentially, definitely millions of dollars, for sure. There are millions of dollars. Los Angeles County is the largest DCFS department in the nation.
Yes, that's true.
And so we're going to have the highest numbers here out of any other place in the nation. And I have something that I just was educated about today, and I'm in shock still. So many people on Tuesdays, and folks, you know who you are. You march your keisters down to Hill Street, to the Board of Supervisors. Why? Because the Board of Supervisors are the 5 people that sit in this circular place, and they allow any complaints to come to them, okay? And so what happens is you look at them as a form of recourse for some type of resolve with a system that you feel has failed you and your children, or your children and yourself. What I have just been educated about is, I was under the assumption Board of Supervisors oversees the department and county council. They're the head honchos.
No,
That's
County-
not the case?
no,
County
no.
council?
No, county council provides legal representation to the board of supervisors and legal advice. Yeah.
Folks, rethink going to the board. Their attorneys are the same attorneys that are going to go in and kick your asses and lie and defend social workers who have lied about you and made things up, whatever they choose. Where do we go for recourse? Who do we turn to? Who do parents turn to? They're desperate. They're losing their children. They cry out every day.
Okay, this is because my current job. Okay, so I'm a lot of people don't know that we exist, but
Yes.
I'm called a social
Because
worker.
you're hidden, because
Yeah.
you're the good folks. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm
We're going to raise you up, Melinda. We're going to make you a superstar.
Okay,
Tell
now
us.
now they'll know who we are. So the parents' law firms have what's known as social work investigators.
Okay.
Okay, and a lot of us are former DCFS workers.
Okay.
Okay, and so we just, I think what your audience would be most interested in what we do
Okay.
is that we go out and we do an independent investigation of what's happening, and we report back to the parents' attorneys. So, for example, I'm asked all the time to go observe visits,
Okay.
and I'll read the social worker report beforehand. The social worker reported to the
Assessment of
Yeah.
what's happened, what she's viewed
what
or
she's
he's viewed.
or
Okay.
the HSA, who we talk about, previously the
The human
service.
service aids. Okay.
And I'll read that there was no bond between, for example, a teenage son and his father. The son, didn't want to visit with his father. The father has no parenting skills. Recommending terminate, reunification. Yeah, everything. So then I'll go and observe the visits, and I'm telling you, 80% of the time, what I see is completely different than what's in the
Than what they
DCFS
actually
Yeah, but you
reported.
see a beautiful family.
And I'm
You see a
doing-
close bond.
And not all the time, but I just do a I'm just honest. I'm just going to go see what I see based on my experience, and for that example, I went out, and the father has excellent communication skills with his son. His father's very approachable. They're hugging. The son's asking if he could come live with the father, but the court doesn't get that information. The court gets only what the social worker is reporting, which is erroneous information. So that's why I love my job. When I was hired, the people who hired me said, you're not a hired gun.
You're not a
Not a
hired
hired
gun.
gun. And I said, well, finally, finally, for over
Exactly.
20 years. And what I do is they said, just tell us the truth. Tell us what
We
you
want
see.
the truth.
Tell us the truth. Say, do you think, tell us, do you think the parent needs some, more help with something, or do you think the social worker's on track or not on track? But like I said, 80% of the time, it's just complete mismatch. And so then I'll testify in court if I can, and submit written reports
So
as
how
testimony.
much credibility then does your opinion have? Because you're someone who used to do this for many years yourself as a DCFS social worker, and then now you're in the position where you're just giving your opinion of what someone else did. Is it held high in the court, or do they look at you? How
It is
does
held.
look?
I think it is held high. However, if I can get to testify, because sometimes,
Right.
not all the time, but I think the only attorneys, I'm not going to. There's some really good county counsel, and I don't know what motivates some of them, but they don't, for whatever reason, want me to testify. They try
They
to
do
block that.
everything to object,
They
to
object.
her.
Testifying.
Even though, folks, and this is important, and Melinda and I have spoken about this, she said, I see a great situation. I see something that's completely opposite what the social worker has reported. These documents I look at can't be the same family that I just went and saw. However, the names are the same. And county council then intervenes and does everything within its power to object and silence, folks, to silence the truth.
That's what it feels like. Like they, I've thought about this. I just can't think of a good reason why they wouldn't want the truth. Let the
Isn't
hearing
that what
officer.
we're there for? The truth
yep,
and
let
what's
the-
best
well,
for the children? I mean,
Yeah, but let the hearing officer, the trier of truth, decide. Make the best. Listen to what all the testimony, and make the best possible orders for that child. But
And you are the person who went and saw, versus DI workers don't typically go and see.
never.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
They don't really observe it. But
But you went out. You talked. You looked around. You saw the house. You saw the bond. You felt the
Yes.
natural relationship, and you didn't come in as the enemy, so they could kind of relax and be themselves.
But the problem isn't, because I know of this from working with DCFS, is once they make an opinion or once they sink their teeth into it and they don't let
Yeah.
go. So
I see.
it doesn't matter what new evidence comes in or testimony. They're like, no, we are maintaining our position. We are right, and they don't back down and they don't apologize and they're just like bulldogs. So
There's no room for
yeah.
error. Well, how about the attorneys that are there representing the children? Are they
Minors counsels.
minors counsels?
They don't ever have a problem with me testifying because I don't want to make a lineage, like say, oh, there's a dichotomy, like
Right, of course.
county council bad, children's,
And that's
but
never the case in
no,
any arena. And
no.
I always say that there are good and bad in every arena, folks. And we're not here to point or pick on the good ones. And we know that you exist, and I've met many of them.
Oh yeah, really good,
Really
good,
great
really
ones.
good county council. But I'm just saying, just by happen chance, the ones who not wanted me to testify were from county council. That's the ones who would object.
I
Well,
see.
and they have the power to object because they are the attorneys. You know, there aren't social workers who would intervene and say, I'm objecting to Melinda coming in and giving her side.
It's interesting though, because there used to be free flowing information, between the social worker and investigators and attorneys, and we'd all try to work things out, and that just made a complete halt. So now, past, I don't even know, 15 years, if I call a social worker, let's talk about this, or...
Oh, there's a caller coming in. Hi, caller. Oh. Oh.
That was
Okay,
it.
we get connected to the wrong line. Caller, please do call back.
Okay.
We'd love to hear you.
Yeah, but if I'm speaking to a social worker now, I'll say, can we talk about this case, or, work it out. The social worker will say, county council said I can't talk to you. I can't talk to you. We can't talk about this case. And so
I can't
I don't know
talk to
why they're
you
getting
because
orders.
what you're going to see and what I'm going to see, I know already are going to be different.
Well, the social worker say I want to talk to you, but I can't. County council said I can't, but then county council works that they're not. The client is DCFS, so they should be taking their orders from Children's Services. But
Right.
sometimes it gets all confused, and
There's been a switch, even though that's not the way it's
but I
supposed
think it
to be.
would really help if everybody can just talk and just work things out and put
They're
everything
not.
on the table.
Sure.
It seems as though, from our discussions, that they're not looking to collaborate because something that, and correct me if I'm wrong, would it be fair to say that they're not looking for the truth in the courtroom?
I don't think that's.
Well,
You don't think that's what? Wait a minute, I want you to
I don't
finish.
think that the truth is what's
Something that's
it's-
being sought?
No, I think it's more like winning. It's
Do
more
you
like winning.
think, you and I discussed this, do you think from the onset of a case, regardless of whose decision, that there is a predetermination in a case, and everybody that is placed on that case thereafter
Oh yeah, that's
has to follow that
They do. They tell
predetermined,
you that your superiors will tell you this child's never going home to his family. Never.
regardless of what
Doesn't
new
matter what
evidence.
They do. Doesn't matter. They were given reunification services. Yeah. The kid's never going home. We're never making that recommendation. And so, but if you were a social worker and you say, no, wait a minute, I don't agree with that, then you're taken off that case, and they'll put a different social worker that will.
Oh, will
and then
they?
you'll never get promoted, because you're seen as,
So in Dr.
Insubordinate.
Susan's case, 3 social workers that were good were on her case, and just as you just said, Melinda, they were all taken off.
yeah, that's common, very commonplace. You're
And
not alone. Yeah, that,
would you say that the reason that they were taken off, for the most part, I
well,
mean,
they're not towing the company line. Whatever the DCFS speaks with one voice, the one voice is, I don't know your case, but they'd say her kids are never going to come home. I don't know if they're saying that. They'll say her kids are never going to come home to her. And if a social worker says, wait a minute, I see good things. Okay, you're off the case. Well, but this other social worker on who will toe the line.
how about if a social worker writes a report that she then submits to the DI to look at, and that is the system, right? The social worker then gives it to the DI
Yeah.
reviews.
Not quite, but yeah,
Okay.
it's okay. Yeah.
Okay, so what if that report? Well, no. Let me rephrase that. Okay, I'm holding my question. Hi, caller. Are you on with us? Okay, we're being connected. Earnestly waiting.
Good afternoon, I'm Alan Jeter.
Hi, yes? Are you calling
how are
the National Safe Child Show?
Yes, I am.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you today?
We're doing well. I have Dr. Susan Evans as our guest, and I have expert, long-time, 20-year tenured social worker and now social worker investigator
with the parents' law firm.
With the parents' law firm. She works on the other side of the spectrum now, and she can sleep at night because she says,
That's for sure.
I demanded to only tell the truth, and I couldn't do it within the department that continuously told me that I had to lie.
Yes.
And she left, and now she's a social work investigator and loves her job because she can tell the truth. And that was one of the job requirements. So, caller, tell us the reason for your call, please.
Well, my call is that of the corruption in DCFF and what I dealt with in regards to Adrian Hawkins, who was a supervisor who aided and abetted taking these children from Dr. Susan Evans, and she lied continuously. And nothing has been done, and there's been no repercussions at all. There's no higher or up the ladder to be a reporter for anything to be done. It's been reported. I myself made hotline reports in regards, and they were disregarded, and no one ever called me.
So let me clarify too. I know Miss Lynn Allen Jeter, and she's spoken with the children. They trust her. They call her their guardian angel. They tell her things, and some of them were concerning. And she made reports herself to DCFS. And what she's talking about is the response that she got,
which is nothing.
Melinda, so we have somebody who has some concerns. The only resource that we have available, and correct me if I'm wrong, and what we're actually told to do, and it would be admonished for if we did not, is make a call to the entity that protects children, and that would be DCFS.
And I have personally made calls to them with my concerns, and there are definitely things that have been shared with me confidentially, and I, in turn, did speak to and left a message in regards to it. But I have a bigger concern. When a social worker, an emergency social worker, did come out and to deal with the children and did talk to us in regards to what her report was, nothing's been done. And I just don't understand how a supervisor can do what she wants to do. And no one has to report to no one.
Let's hear what Melinda...
Well, yeah, there is no checks and balances. So what you're saying, I hear every single day. I mean, I hear this every
This
day.
is common practice.
There's, a social worker or a supervisor can make or break her case. You could get a whole new social worker and supervisor, and the case will completely change, in someone else's favor. There's no...
According to a predetermined outcome from the onset, in most instances, caller, and it doesn't matter what Melinda was just explaining it doesn't matter what new evidence comes in, it doesn't matter how compelling it is, they've already determined a case, and they're going with that regardless, and their mantra, if you will, is one voice, speak with one voice, and that mantra is shared amongst the Los Angeles DCFS County, and they're not, if you try to go against them as a social worker and you say, this is so wrong, I can't be a part of this, what Melinda is explaining is you will be removed from that case, and another social worker who will follow this mantra of speak with one voice, and our voice is, these kids are never going back to their safe parent, and they're going to follow that. And they'll keep...
I have a question, Tammy, of your guest.
Well, Melinda, why don't you direct it to Melinda?
Is there any, because you are an investigator, is there any solution or any suggestions that you would make for someone like myself that's calling in, thinking that's what I'm doing to protect children, I'm reporting something that I want them to know and have them to help?
Is this
Do you have any suggestion?
Is this an open case? Do they ever open a case?
They have had a case
Yes,
open.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, so everything you're saying is just going straight to the existing social worker.
Correct.
Are you familiar with the name Adrian Hawkins? Have you ever heard that name float around?
thousands.
I
of, you
know. I wish you were.
Oh, and let me ask something too.
Okay.
Do you have-
Wait a minute, talk into the mic
Sorry,
so that we can
You
hear.
have counsel, right? It's
Yes,
a
I
private
do.
Counsel.
No.
Well,
No, wait a minute. She has appointed counsel. Oh, wait a minute. Can you make that face right into your...
No, I just don't want to make sure it's our, law firm. You know what I mean? Because it's be a,
Right. Can you state your appointed counsel's
or is it
name?
Is it which
well,
agency?
She won't know because parents never know what agency, by the way, Melinda. I don't know if you're aware of that.
No, what parent? Because I work for the parents' law firm. I just want to make sure we're not.
Are you with the
at a
parents?
conflict. Well, honestly,
They don't know.
my case was dismissed from
Not completely,
dependency
though.
court.
She still has one
So,
child that they're holding on to for no reason.
Yeah. So for that, there is a Rebecca Harkness who is assigned to my case as a court-appointed attorney. With the Timothy
Okay.
Martella law firm.
Okay.
Okay.
So do you know Rebecca?
Yeah. So that's part of our law firm. It's not the law firm I work for, and I'm not an attorney anyway, so I
course.
can't.
And
give
folks,
legal
Melinda,
advice.
say that to everybody.
Yeah, I can't give legal advice.
And she's not, and it's not her intention.
Well, I don't really want legal advice.
No.
I'm just asking,
right.
where would you suggest? If I'm calling DCFS, and that doesn't solve anything. If I call the police, they contact DCFS.
Yeah,
I've already
that's
done
true.
that experience.
Yeah, that's
So what
true.
do you
Where does the
suggest?
parent
You think there's
turn,
none?
Melinda? Is there
You think
anywhere?
there's no solution?
No, there's as far as I know.
Just say it like it is.
This is what I'm saying. It's Doomsville.
It's Doomsville.
I
There's
think-
no solution, and there is
No.
corruption, and everybody knows it because there's one voice. And if that voice starts off corrupt and dirty and bad, guess what? The other voices down below, however many are involved, will stay with that voice. And if you dare to attempt...
So I have another question,
Okay.
Tammy. If you are telling, if I'm understanding, there's a gentleman that's over, let's say, or a woman that's over DCFS as far as the children, as a psychiatrist or whatever. Are you telling me that there is no accountability whatsoever in the DCFS system?
Maybe a yes or no would be appropriate.
No, there's no.
There's no accountability.
I
So
don't.
there's no recourse for me as someone who cares about children that I can reach out and help in any way at all unless I'm able to expose
Yeah, but
what's being done.
Go ahead.
But here's
Wait
the
a minute.
thing: if you come out and expose it, you're gonna come off like a crazy person, which is unfortunate. What happens? The parents are just, this is so emotional to them. It's their children or
Of
people who
course.
care, and they're so emotional. They go and they come off like lunatics, and so people just
But
don't
I'm
want
not.
to hear
Let's
them.
talk about people that are not parents that have been involved in these children's lives and this family for a very long time, and we
Okay.
ourselves call and make a report.
Right,
to the
she gets
police,
that.
Or we call and make a report to DCFF. I'm trying to understand. You're telling me nothing we do can help these children. Is that what you're telling me? So I'm not a parent.
Well, no, she's
I am
not
someone
saying
who
that.
Knows. It's no different if I was a teacher in a classroom and I saw kids coming to school with dirty clothes or whatever and not being kept. I would report them for neglect, I would assume. But you're telling me I'm not even understand. Are you saying that I can't call DCF, I can't call the police, I can get no help for children that are in crises because it is so corrupt?
Well, she's not saying you can't call, and I don't think that she would ever recommend that to anybody.
It's not working. The system's not working.
It's
a
a
very
failed
sick,
system.
It's failed. It's never worked. It's sick. It can't heal itself.
And that's so sad. As a mother, I can just say how hard. I understand what you're saying is true, but so you have a concerned, loved person on the phone. She's trying to say, "What can I do to help the kids?" I'm a mother and I'm a physician, so we're trained to do what's best for our patients. And if we have medical documentation of a problem, or if we have concerned loved ones that's calling in for the children, you're saying really that's not going to help.
Oh, because everybody's left it in charge. They see DCFS as experts. Our society, well, DCFS is not popular in our community, but we see DCFS as the experts.
So should we be going to a federal level since the state is not doing their job and the county is not doing their job? Is this a federal thing that the feds need to be notified of all these children that they're leaving in a bay to be destroyed?
Okay, wait a minute, let her answer.
But here's
and we have limited time, and we have a lot more to talk
and
about.
Everybody's doing I mean, I don't mean to say this, but everybody's saying what you're saying. You know what I mean? It's like people. It's disheartening. It's terrible. It's sickening. But one of many who are saying this.
Yes, you're
But
one.
there's not a federal level or a level to go above. There's no place to go beyond county.
Is there any place that you've ever heard about not giving legal advice, but maybe having just maybe heard somebody had gone to this level? Anything like that, Melinda, or?
Not to my knowledge.
No.
We put all our trust in children's services, the county, someone's going to do something, and then nothing happens, and...
No. The answer I would feel comfortable saying is no. There is no other way to go. And folks, what you need to know is it's time for each and every parent that feels as if they have been wronged to stop with the insanity.
Yeah.
Stop with the insanity. You have tried to go the process that's allowed to you. That process was strategized and set up by a department that has started this as a lie.
Yeah, they're complaining and the parents are complaining. And it's just they're spinning their wheels and they're not getting anywhere. So this is what I always say to my parents. This is what I always say. This is my advice. Okay. I always say don't give up because you know deep in your heart that you're the
good parent.
person,
You're good.
You're the person who loves your children the most.
That's right.
So I say don't give up. Number 2, you're going to form a business relationship with the social worker. The social worker is not your friend by any stretch of the imagination.
Ever.
I was a social worker. I looked nice. I smiled. I was
That's
not,
right.
I was just, I'm not your friend.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean? So just know that. I don't know if you've seen too many movies, but don't expect social workers to do social work.
Yes.
Not at DCFS. They're not going to do that.
That's
okay?
right.
Well, some can, but then they get
There's very few, and they get
burnt
pushed.
out.
And they never get the bad cases, by the way.
Yeah.
The social workers that I know that I'm friends with, they get good cases. Things turn out good. Kids end up. They get services if the parents. Life is dandy, okay, in
but
those cases.
you can't take that risk,
No.
Oh, I'm gonna get a good, non-burned out social
No.
worker who's gonna fight the fight. Follow all the court orders, even though DCFS may not be following the court orders. Follow the court orders. So, for example, the court orders oftentimes visitation with the parents to occur 3 times a week, 3 hours. So DCFS doesn't do that. They'll give it maybe 1 time a week for an hour.
Yes.
So they're not. And so the parents go crazy. They're not. Don't worry about DCFS. Just you follow all your court orders.
And all that's given to you. And if DCFS fails to give that to you, folks,
tell your attorney, and they'll bring it up to court, and they'll do something about it. But don't take it upon you to try to fix it. Just tell your attorney, and just don't waste your energy on that. Get in all your programs that you're supposed to be in. Learn something. The whole point is whatever behaviors you were doing that not working for you,
or that they're accusing you of doing, even if you haven't done any of them.
Yeah, you got to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Like whatever's not working for you, just get rid of. You got to incorporate new, healthier behaviors into your repertoire, and you need to show to the court this is never going to happen again. Okay, so you're going to say it's never going to happen again. Then get your kids back, and then never ever come to the attention of DCFS again, ever. That's what I tell
That
my
means
parents.
move to the forest and go off the grid and stay away. Another state. We've had a lot of parents do that.
Yeah.
They go to another state, they're in, East Japipi, and they just stay low profile.
Yeah.
I mean, they really disconnect until their children are 18, and that's what they say. When my kids...
I thought a child only had to be 14 to make a choice.
Oh, gosh. No. No,
At
I don't
14,
know.
they could be in court and testify to be able to talk about what parents they want to be with.
13 in the state of California. The law got changed a couple of years ago to 13 years old in the family court. In dependency, a child can be any age and go in and testify and tell the judge, their point of view, what's happened to them, who they want to be with.
How much weight does that get? I'm curious.
See, I don't know. You'd have to ask a hearing officer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're in touch with a hearing officer, by the way.
There's
So
some really good hearing officers.
there's some really good hearing officers.
Very good social workers.
And we're going to have a hearing officer on the show.
Yeah. Great.
So that's something that we're working on.
So I just want to bring closure to the caller. And so in addition to your list of things, and believe me, I took notes of all of those things that you recommended for parents, for the concerned loved ones, for even their pediatrician.
For anybody.
And their
We
teachers.
got 5 minutes.
You tell them not to call in because that's not going to help.
No, she can't tell them that.
They could be witnesses, I can't give legal advice, but, you could tell your attorney everything. I would tell your attorney everything and let them.
How about court-appointed attorneys?
Yeah,
Honest?
That's what I work for. I work for the court-appointed, that's LADL, Los Angeles Dependency Lawyers.
Are they told by county counsel, hey, you better turn this case. You better not fight to the best of your knowledge because we already have a predetermined decision?
No.
No.
No. They fight really
Tooth and
hard.
nail.
They
For the
fight,
parents.
Yeah, for the parents.
They do
Tooth
fight
and-
for the
oh,
parents.
Yeah. That's why I wouldn't work for them if they didn't.
Well, that's your firm.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten word that any other firms, just court-appointed attorneys, are selling me out? They're not giving me anything. They're not returning phone calls. I'm emailing them. I can't even talk to my attorney, and the only time that I do
You know,
talk to my attorney is 5 minutes before, and they don't talk to
Yeah,
me.
you know, it's interesting because they've got hundreds and hundreds of cases. And, you know, like with me, there's 2 of me in each. You know, there's only a
Yes.
few of us in each of the law firms.
That's right. There's
So
only
they
2 of
definitely-
you within that whole law
Yeah.
firm,
2 social workers.
and there's hundreds and hundreds
So
of
you're
cases.
saying they're
Thousands.
overworked.
Thousands of cases, and 2 of you.
Yeah. So, you know.
Isn't the system failing in the respect where you have somebody who can go in, who's highly educated, who can assess, who has years of experience, and yet they're not looking to get more of you, but instead they're looking to get more of the corrupt one-voicers and hiring. The union just went to the Board of Supervisors last year. I was there, fighting for David Green, head of the union, fighting for we need 1,000 more social workers after Gabriel died.
No, there's no point in getting more social workers if you're going to throw them into that culture. There's no point.
Correct.
No.
It's a
Correct.
culture of fear.
Yeah.
Melinda Murphy wrote, after everything was said and done, and she left DCFS because she wanted to be able to tell the truth. She wrote the book. She co-authored a book called A Culture of Fear. Folks, I recommend that you get it.
It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. And in the Palmdale Barnes & Noble, you can walk in and get it off the shelf.
Fabulous,
Yeah.
fabulous. Melinda,
And I'm sorry what you're going through to the caller. I'm very, very sorry. And I don't...
she doesn't have children.
Yeah, I know.
This is for
I
Dr.
But for me, it's a level of frustration,
It's frustration.
because
Yeah, sure.
I care about kids, and I've reached out to the system to try to make people aware of this, and it's done no good.
And it's not
It's
going
caused there's
to.
more and more damage every time. I mean, I wish I could say something different when I see the children. I see light, and I see there's hope there, but I don't, because the kids are depressed and sad when
Right.
they have to leave their mother. It's a withdrawal right in front of my eyes.
Right, we're all seeing it.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a minute left.
Yeah, and I was going to say, we all have like a front row seat, those who work in the system, a front row seat to just absolute despair. And we watch families just torn apart. We see that every day.
Melinda, let me ask you this, not to interrupt, because we had so much more to cover. Can we, in the month of November, set up a workshop? I will get the office. We will invite parents.
Yeah.
We'll have a hearing officer. We'll have Melinda, who I adore. And we will have a couple of experts.
Yeah, a workshop for the parents, just to get just what I've been saying. You know, we don't go through specific cases because I can't.
Right,
But
right.
just to give them the nuts and bolts, like how to survive. If you're in children's services, how to survive.
How to
yeah,
survive,
how to
what to
survive.
do and what not to do. Never go in, folks, if you're a parent. Never cry during a dependency court hearing. They will use that against you.
Yeah. Oh no, if you cry, they're going to say you're mentally ill.
You're
If
mentally ill. You'll get a mental diagnosis for crying, and that's the real deal.
If you're African American woman, you're an angry black woman.
You're an angry. Listen,
angry.
I've heard it.
Yeah.
Those words. You are an angry. I said it to you one day.
Yep.
Angry black woman.
I always say to my African American women, have a witness with you when the DCFS social worker interviews you. I'm telling you, have someone with you
At all times. What about recording?
There's no policy that you can't record.
There is no policy, folks, that you cannot record. They don't want you to record because they are what? One voice. They're speaking with one voice. That voice is not the voice that we're going to hear later on the recording. We've got to wrap it up, folks, unfortunately.
Does the media make a difference? Does media drawing attention, does it make a difference?
You're asking
Does
Melinda.
it help?
Yeah, I think they're at the tip of the iceberg, though, the media.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Board of Supervisors, Lynn, is represented by County Council. County Council is part of that one voice. We just found out today. So this sheds a whole different light. Folks, I wish we didn't have to stop. We do. We need to continue, Melinda. We need to have you back on. Maybe we have a part 2 in 2 weeks.
Sure.
You want to do that?
Sure.
All right. We're going to continue this show. I'm going to rearrange the schedule. We love you, listeners, and we love you, parents, and don't give up. Melinda said, don't ever give up.
Yeah.
We're going to do a workshop in the month of November. We'll just throw it together. Lynn will help us, Lynn. And we love you, UBN Radio, for allowing this to be exposed. Dr. Susan, thank you.
Thank you so
Dr.
much.
Susan,
and
you're
thank you for
building
your
up an
advice, and I'll get
arsenal
that
of
book.
great people that tell the truth. Thank you. folks. Gabriel Fernandez is hearing the 30th in Palmdale. Everybody can be there. Please be there. The mother is getting her sentence. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you for listening to the National Safe Child Show on UBN Radio. For past episodes, visit the archives on ubnradio.com. And for more information, go to nationalsafechildcoalition.com. The views and opinions expressed in these radio programs are those of the individual hosts and do not reflect the official policy or position of Universal Broadcasting Network.
Tune in to Dr. Judy, WTF, every Thursday at 8 p.m. right here on the UBN Network, hosted by Walt Lusk.
And I'm Dr. Judy, and I invite you to get on the couch